stars.
Let's talk to Jim Salisbury. Phillies offseason had a lot. People complained an awful lot about it. Now, I think in the end it looks much better than was believed through a good portion. I mean, a month or so ago, Seltzer was telling me this was an F off season, which I told him at the time was ridiculous. Jim Salisbury does tremendous work. Of course, the Philly show that he does along with Ruben Amaro and Todd Zielecki, and also now back at NBC Sports Philadelphia, our pal. Probably the best in the business of covering the Philadelphia Phillies, Mr. Jim Salisbury. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Joe. How are you?
Jim, I got to take that probably away. You are the dean.
No,
you are the dean, sir.
I'm unworthy.
All right, so Jim, a lot to do, and we appreciate carving out some time here, 3 days to opening day. We'll kind of do a deep dive. Let's start with the serious for a moment. For those that missed it, Daniel Robert with the, I guess you'd call it collapse.
Unknown cardiovascular event.
Yeah, tell us about what happened yesterday and what your understanding is of where it stands now. Obviously, his past, there was issues. What should people know about what happened with Daniel Robert?
Well, just to cut right to how he is right now, he's fine. But a scary situation. I did not witness it. He was throwing a bullpen out on the half field, and I was in the press box trying to get a quick story up about the roster selections. I was walking downstairs to the press conference for Cristopher Sancehz, which was going to start at 11:15, and right about 10 o'clock. The press conference was going to start at 10:15. Right around 10 o'clock, he had this episode, and
wow.
I actually wrote a story about this about a month ago on the NBC website. If you look at it, God is with this kid. He suffered an elbow injury with the Phillies late last season, and they wanted to make sure, and his contract was going to expire, and they ultimately did let him become a free agent. He became a minor league free agent, but before his contract expired, he had gone to Clearwater to rehab the elbow, and he was throwing one of his last bullpen sessions before he was going to head home to Alabama on Halloween Day, and during the bullpen session, he felt lightheaded, and he went down, and he collapsed, and his heart rate was, to use his words, at a lethally low level. He was. I asked him if his heart ever stopped, and he actually started to tear up a little bit, and he said no, but it was at a lethally low level, which makes you think like he was within a couple blinks of being straight-lined. And I used the word heroes on the Phillies training staff saved his life. They start, as he's laying there in the bullpen, they start CPR, life-saving CPR. They shocked his heart with an external defibrillator, transferred him to the hospital. He stayed in the hospital 3 days in Clearwater. He was had tests all winter in Atlanta. Eventually, they, inserted inside his chest. The
defibrillator.
Yeah, it's one of those.
And that went off yesterday, correct?
It went off twice.
Wow.
And now he was cleared medically to come back and pitch. And he said, the only place I wanted to be was with the Phillies because they saved my life, because they were there the whole time. Even when he was a free agent, not knowing if he was ever going to pitch again. And when I say free agent, I'm not talking, Bo Bichette. I'm talking a minor league free agent. Even when he was a minor league free agent, Dombrowski and Mattingly and Thompson stayed in touch with him, all the Phillies medical staff, trainers. And when he was actually cleared to resume his career after what they called an unexplained cardiac event, he only wanted to be with the Phillies. So he came back here. He's been ramping up all spring, doing conditioning and whatnot. And yesterday was like his first bullpen session. A bunch of guys went out to watch it, a bunch of teammates. They actually gave him an ovation when he finished, and that's when he buckled. And the pacemaker, whatever you call it, it shocked twice. He was able to walk onto the ambulance and just, thank God. But thank God he was still rehabbing his elbow injury last Halloween and, wasn't home on a golf course or something because, who knows? So, obviously he's going to have to take some stock of his baseball career, but at moments like this, baseball's not important.
No question. Well, listen, Jim, good detail there. And
And that
Unbelievably
impacted
scary.
the Cristopher Sanchez press conference.
Yeah.
I mean, it happened, you said 10 minutes before the press conference. So how did that impact the Sanchez conference itself?
Well, there was some talk that it was going to be pushed back. But it was so comforting to use, I'm not sure if that's the right word, but everybody was heartened to see him walk onto the ambulance that, okay, he's going to be fine, that this device that he had implanted did its job. So hats off to medical science.
Unbelievable.
And they went on with the press conference. But you're right, John. A very strange juxtaposition of emotions. The despair and the terrifying nature of this happening.
Life or death.
Yeah, literally.
With juxtaposed with a young man having the triumphant moment of receiving a rather hefty pay raise.
For sure. So, Jim, we'll get to the Sanchez stuff. I'm curious if you think it's a good or bad decision the Phillies extended him when they didn't have to. But let's start. We're going to move off the heavy to the much less important. But it does matter how our team is and what we think about him. So let's start with this here as we assess, as you give us your assessment of what happened. I want to pose to you, Jim, the Twitter poll question of the day. It's brought to us by Armin Chevrolet. Save over $10,000 in every new Armin Chevy Equinox EV in stock. That's over 20% off MSRP. Visit ArminChevy.com. All right, Jim, here's the poll question today. Now that the offseason is finally essentially over, I mean, the Sanchez thing plus a few minor moves to the back end of the roster feels like the offseason's done. Here's the poll question, Jim. Which word best describes the Phillies offseason? Great, good, bad, horrendous. I think we're going to get votes on all four. Great, good, bad, horrendous. Which word would you attach to this offseason?
I would probably say good because, they brought back Kyle Schwarber, which was a huge move. He means so much to that team and that lineup. And, they brought back JT Realmuto, and, probably was an overpay at 3 years, but I don't think it's a significant overpay at $15 million per year, given all he does for this team and this pitching staff, the way they lean on him, the pitching staff does, because he is so good behind that plate. And if they didn't have him, I think it would be a glaring weakness. So just getting those two guys back gives me a good. It would have been great if they got Bo Bichette. Obviously, they didn't do that, but they also, for their future, they secured at least one left-hander, really good left-hander who is ascending in Luzardo. I think the Backus pickup might end up being pretty good. He's had a really good spring. Bolin pickup might be pretty good, so those are some under-the-radar things. But I would give it probably a good. I like the fact that they're going to have Luzardo going forward, but they would have had Sanchez anyway, so for like 5 years if they wanted to. So I'm not going to chalk that up as an off-season move as much as it was just kind of a maybe almost like an in-season business move here as we move toward opening day. But it could have been a lot worse, Joe. It could have been a lot worse if Kyle Schwarber's not here and if JT Realmuto is somewhere else. And they need JT Realmuto behind the plate this year. They want to go where they're going to go, where they want to go.
We've heard Zack Wheeler is ahead of schedule, but to your eyes, how is he looking and feeling?
Well, I can't say he's ahead of schedule, John, because nobody knows what the hell the schedule is. even he says he doesn't know. He actually, I was talking to him about it. He picks up his phone. He's going to look at something that they sent. He said, "I can't find it." He says, "I don't know. I just do what they tell me to do." Yeah. But I mean, he looks like he's. The delivery looks really good. The arm stroke looks really good. His body looks really good. And, the smile is there. This is a guy who can be a little ornery at times. And he's been very upbeat. Very upbeat. So if that's a window into how he feels, I'll take it.
Yeah.
He's going to throw a minor league game today. That's another step. And to me, that kind of puts him right up around maybe like the first game of the spring where a guy goes out and pitches 2 innings. And then you still got another month in Florida and maybe 3 or 4 days before opening day. So I'd say it's about a month. He might be about a month away, and maybe a tad more than a month before coming back. I'm sure he would like to come back earlier. But, the team is going to drive the bus with his input. But they, talking to Caleb Cotham the other day, they are really prioritizing good health for the entire rotation, for the entire season, and that includes October. So I don't think they're going to rush him back in cold weather. I would start looking, seriously in about a month, and that's still plenty of time for him to make a run at, awards and All-Star and everything and be the Zack Wheeler he needs to be. So I think it's really important they build a strong base here in Florida for a while and then bring him back. But no red flags, absolutely no red flags. Conquered every challenge so far. Guys have come back from this surgery pretty good, and so there's reason for optimism, even if we don't have a hard schedule.
How confident are you that Taijuan Walker can fill that number 4 spot in the meantime?
Yeah. Well, it's just a number. He's going to fill a spot. If he can give you 5 or 6 innings every time out, you'll take it. So he'll pitch 4. Painter will go 5. I think that keeps Painter out of Denver, which I think is a good move because the ball is it's just different pitching there. Everybody focuses on how different it is, the hitting there. The effect it has on a pitcher's pitches and the grip and things, I think it's a good spot to have him avoid as a rookie for his second start, and then he can make his second start over in San Francisco, where it's a good hitter's park. So, but Taijuan Walker will fill a spot in the back half of the rotation until Wheeler is back, and then I suspect he'll become a long man in the bullpen.
Yeah.
But the rest of the rotation has to pitch well. I mean, you can health issues can pop up, so he remains a valuable depth piece, even though they're deploying him in the rotation to start the season.
Jim Salisbury with us here from NBC Sports Philadelphia and the Phillies show. So, Jim, to me, the biggest negative, and you can define it a few different ways, but is essentially that they did not improve their offense either at all or much. And I think that's defined by Alec Bohm still being their 4th best hitter. Whether he hits 2 or 3 or 4, he's their 4th best hitter. So, Bohm, October 1st, gut feeling, is he going to be a Philly when they enter the playoffs this October? Or is he going to be off the team by the time that happens?
The 2026 playoffs?
Yes.
Oh, he's going to be a Philly.
So Aiden Miller doesn't bump him during the season.
Aiden Miller hasn't even been on the field.
I know.
Alec Bohm is a big leaguer. Aiden Miller is a minor leaguer with a back injury who has, I think he's barely played above Double-A.
All right, let's tackle it this way. Did they make?
And he's a really good prospect. He's
Sure.
an outstanding prospect. I feel for the kid, but he hasn't been on the field.
Yep.
The lack of appreciation for Alec Bohm blows my mind. If he was the number 6 hitter, everybody would be praising him.
I agree.
But because they have failed at bringing in and guys that have had the opportunity to be big right-handed sticks in the middle of that lineup and hit 4 have failed. He gets most of the blame because they have to put him there because he makes contact, doesn't strike out a lot, and there is value in that because now pitchers aren't thinking, well, I can just pitch around the number 4 hitter because I can strike out the pitch around the number 3 hitter because I can strike out the number 4 hitter. If Alec Bohm was a 6 hitter, people would view him totally different. He plays good defense over there. He is a solid hitter. Just because he doesn't lift the ball over the wall, people are mad at him. Well, he's made some adjustments this spring where he's looking to turn on mistakes middle in without sacrificing that, line drive stroke the opposite way. And he's been a human trade rumor for 2 years. He is not bothered by it. I think he's in a good frame of mind. And if he goes out and has a good year this year, it's going to be win-win for the Phillies and for Alec Bohm because he's going to put some money in his pocket next winter. And at that time, we'll determine whether Aiden Miller is ready. But first steps first. He's not even doing baseball activity. To me, that's the most troubling element of spring training.
All right. So, that he didn't get to play. Yep, I got you.
They were going to take a look at him on the left side of the infield, 2 positions, and his back flared up again. And he also had the same issue last September. So it just makes you wonder if this is a chronic thing. Certainly it's something they got to keep their eye on. It's an important player moving forward who could hold down 1 of 2 spots on the left side of the infield in the very near future, third base possibly next year. But first of all, first and foremost, they need to get him healthy. And in the meantime, at least they have a big league third baseman who is a representative hitter in their batting order, would be a great number 6 hitter, and he'll be a passable number 4 hitter. And if he drives in 97 runs like he did in 23 and 24, nobody will have a complaint. But he had a bad year last year. He was a little bit banged up in the shoulder and the rib, and that attributed to it. So let's see what he can do. All
right, Jim, I agree with you on Bohm. I do. But the next part of it is, did Dombrowski do enough to make the lineup better? What's your answer to that?
So my answer to that is front office does not always tell you things verbally. You have to judge by their actions. They made a very, very strong run at Bo Bichette because they recognized what they needed in the middle of that lineup, and they did not get him. So what does that tell you? They would have liked to have done more. They thought they needed more. They were unsuccessful in getting it. So now they're going to rely on Alec Bohm, and they're going to rely on Adolis Garcia, who comes in a bargain $10 million contract. They're going to rely that maybe some adjustments he makes at the plate makes him a more formidable threat on a one-year deal and see if he can get by that way. So I will remind you, they still need big seasons from Schwarber. They need big seasons from Harper. They need big seasons from Trey Turner, the guys that are here. It's not just it's not just these sort of semi-periphery guys that are going to make or break this season. They still need contributions from the big guys in the lineup. That's been their big problem in October, is that the lineup presses and doesn't deliver. But there have been other problems in October. The bullpen. Last 3 years, the bullpen has not been good. It turned that series in Arizona, and then it was not good against the Mets, and then it was not good last year in the first round against the Dodgers, the first round they played. They blew Game 1 leads both times. You can't blow Game 1 leads in the postseason, short series. But they did that in 24 and 25, and that changed the series. They played bad defense. So it ain't just the offense that needs to produce better in October. The entire brand of baseball needs to improve, and especially the bullpen, because if you look at the last Octobers, Joe, 6.5 ERA in the bullpen the last 2 Octobers. Wow. 6.5 ERA. They played 8 games the last 2 Octobers, 5 blown saves. So it's a group effort in October. It ain't just the batting order, but I do agree the batting order is the glaring thing. I think they put enormous pressure on themselves. They need to figure out a way to stop that and let their best come out in October. So I expect them to play in October. I expect them to get back there. It's kind of me. It's a minimal expectation getting there with this payroll, this star power. But I think they got a good team, and I think they had a good offseason, not a great one, but they still are good enough to play in October and then go out and control your own destiny by playing well.
Jim, Crawford, you got a chance to see him all through, this spring training. What level player should people expect Justin Crawford to be in his first season with the Phillies?
I would take a passable guy who plays really good defense. I want to see good defense. There's kind of no excuse for that. The other day I thought it was a little bit of a microcosm. He faces maybe the best pitcher in baseball, Tarek Skubal, twice. The first time, Skubal throws him a fastball, and then he throws him a changeup up in the zone. Basically a mistake, not a Tarek Skubal changeup. And this kid has a lot of whip in his swing. He holds the bat way down the end. You'll look at him and you'll say, wow, that's a long swing. And then you'll say to yourself, but man, he gets the barrel on the ball all the time and he hits 340. It'll work, So he sees that high changeup, hooks it into the right field corner, and runs like a gazelle to third base for a triple. Exciting. The next time, Skubal gets him on 3 fastballs. A little bit of a microcosm of what I think we'll see in the season. So play good defense. Don't look like the game is swallowing you up. Don't look overmatched at the plate. And this is a lineup that should be able to carry him because they have, veterans and star power up above. If they do their job, I think they can carry him in the 9-hole. So what I think would be a win, just look like you belong and contribute where you can. So they know they have a center fielder for 8 or 9 years. And next year we'll see the best, maybe is yet to come. This kid hits 340 all the time in the minors. He's exciting. He can run. I'm old enough to remember Willie McGee. And Willie McGee hit the ball on the ground a lot. I know it was a different era with a lot of AstroTurf and stuff, but I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if this kid can be Willie McGee, and if he's not, then maybe he's something in between. But I'm eager to see him play, and I hope he succeeds, and I hope they don't have to send him down. A lot of guys come up and have to go down once, and then they come back and they get it right. I'm hoping he's one of those guys that sticks. The minor league ingredients, the minor league track record is certainly good, but I will warn, it takes time for a young player to come to the big leagues and believe he belongs, and then eventually show his best. But a lot of really good-looking tools.
Jim, was Dave Dombrowski crazy to challenge Bryce Harper, or crazy like a fox to challenge Bryce Harper?
I don't think I think we talked about this. I do not think it was intentional. I don't think he jumped in the elevator that day, come down to the press conference room, and say, "I'm going to challenge Bryce Harper." I really don't. I think it was in the back of his mind that he didn't have a great season, and it was a thought of his, and it just came out at the end of a press conference, kind of viscerally. Naturally, organically, in response to a question. I don't believe he's that type of guy. I've watched his whole career. He's not a cunning man. He's not calculating. If he's got stripes where if he needs to send a message, he can send it behind closed doors. I think it just came out. I really do, and I'll stand by that. Wow. If it acts as a motivator, that's fine. But I don't think that's his style. And I've watched him operate since the late 80s when he was in Montreal.
All right, Jim, let's tackle the Sanchez thing. I'm going to give you essentially the same question. Crazy or not, wise or unwise to extend Sanchez when he already had him under contract for so long at a great number? Is this good for team morale and for the player's psyche, or a bad use of resources?
Well, it's great for team morale, and it's great for the player's psyche. Players notice this stuff. They notice that who gets taken care of if they perform. And players around the game notice that too. And I think that is very meaningful to John Middleton, the owner, who had a big part in this as well. It's not just Dave. I mean, Dave's contract, Dave could retire after 27. So, that's kind of when, Cristopher Sanchez is just beginning this. I didn't even want to call it an extension. It's more of like a restructuring. Anyway, so I actually got a text from a guy in baseball last night who works for another team saying, why would they rip up the best contract in baseball and do this? I mean, it's a legitimate question. They could have had him for $18 million the next 3 years. They could have had him for like $47 million the next 5 years with those options. So they added the $60 million, the 230s at the end. So his guarantee over 7 years, including this year, is $107. That is under $16 million a year. That is less than Taijuan Walker's AAV. I think they recognized the guy who had really outperformed his contract and decided that they were going to do him a solid. It was something that both sides had a hankering to do, and they did it. He put his hand up a couple of years ago and wanted to sign that early contract to get some security, and it was such a team-friendly deal. And he's become one of the best pitchers in baseball right under their eyes, through a lot of hard work, through a lot of help from the Phillies pitching staff. And they decided to do something about it. So they have a bunch of pitchers now locked up, but this kid, he could have been locked up for 5 more years if you took those options. But I just think they decided to, like I said, do him right. And I think it means a lot to John Middleton that this is recognized as a great place for players to play. If you look at some of the amenities they've added at Citizens Bank Park for players and their families, I mean, players talk. And again, it's still pretty reasonable contract for a guy who, last year, according to Baseball Reference, was the best starting pitcher in the game, and according to other places who rank pitchers, was one of the top 3. And you have to know your player and know his character when you make a decision like this, because they know he's got great character. He really works hard. He's not a screw up. He's a team guy. And he'll continue to get better. And, every indication is he could continue to get better. He's learned to throw strikes. He's added that great changeup. I'm fine with it. I don't think they had to do it. There was no urgency like Luzardo, where he was going to be a free agent next year, but I'm fine with this move.
Jim, you mentioned a couple minutes ago, 2027, Dave Dombrowski might retire. I mean, I guess I don't know the details on that front, but I think he is perhaps the oldest general manager in baseball. He's 69 years old. You mentioned that. I mean, is that something that has been discussed in quietly? Is that something that really is legitimately possible? It's something that I had not considered until you brought it up, and then the fact that he'll be 70 on July 27th this year. It just got the wheels turning a little bit. What do you?
Well, I mean, 70's not that old. I mean, look at Joe, right? He's 70.
Biologically, Joe is 70.
But he's in great shape. He can probably go as long as he wants, but that's when his contract runs through. And, I always looked at him as a guy who's coming here. He's a guy who goes places to win World Series. He doesn't come in to build teams. And he's still trying to win a World Series here, and they are World Series ready and capable. But, the only reason I bring it up is because the contract's up that year, up after 27. He signed an extension after the World Series, and it's something I wonder about. They also have what appears to be a succession plan. They elevated Preston Mattingly to the number 2 role there, the GM role. Dave's the president of baseball ops. So, I could see something like that happening, but it also wouldn't surprise me if they announced someday that he signed a 3-year extension, because he's loaded with energy. He's very youthful. He radiates love of the game and love of what he does. So I have no problem with that. But, it wouldn't surprise me if he retired after 2027. If I've said this before on the Philly show, it wouldn't surprise me if they won the World Series this year if he maybe went out a year early because he had won the World Series, and maybe he doesn't want to deal with what's coming with the lockout. So I think there's a lot of things up in the air, but part of it is it's all about the contract ending after 2027. It's all about reaching the goal if they do, and it's all about they have Preston Mattingly waiting in the wings, and they elevated him with just that idea, so we'll see.
All right, Jim, final thing here. And by the way, I'll just say, for how to assess the offseason, I got it as either good or great. I lean toward good. The thing that makes me think maybe great is the Luzardo contract. I mean, it's kind of rare in this sport that an agent and a player will say, yeah, let's saddle up for a long time when I'm just 6 months of pitching away from being an unrestricted free agent and I might get an extra $50 or $75 million. So I actually think the Luzardo move was the best move the Phillies made this offseason, and it makes me consider great for the overall season. But I'll go with good because, Rhea, they did.
Why don't you just hand them the World Series now?
But Rhea, they did a lot.
It's not great,
Luzardo,
Joe.
Sanchez, Schwarber, JT. I get Crawford and Painter finally.
Okay. We look at it differently.
We look at it very. Totally so give me the argument that the offseason stunk.
My argument is that those people were here. You didn't upgrade for a team that has consistently gone backwards in the playoffs the last 3 years. That's my argument.
So, Jim, it sounds like you and I are aligned.
I'm a good.
Yeah.
Yes, that's it.
All right, Jim, final thing here, and then we're going to get to Jonesy, who's just about to join us here in studio for the next 2 hours. Jim, prediction time. Regular season wins, and which of these 3 really good National League East teams wins the division? Phillies, Braves, Mets. Who wins the division? And how many wins for the Phillies this regular season?
Oh, boy. I'd say the Phillies will win 93 games and win the division. It'll be tight, though. I think both the Mets are good lineup. Got some starting pitching issues, but the Peralta thing helps a lot. Braves just fell on their face last year because they all got hurt. And that's something that is, the X factor here for every team. And it's the X factor with these long-term contracts for pitchers. You got to stay healthy. You don't stay healthy, all of a sudden those long-term contracts look bad. I mean, a la Ryan Howard. You don't stay healthy, you don't win ball games in the short term in the season. So whoever stays the healthiest, if the Phillies stay the healthiest, I think they have the best personnel. I'll give them 93 wins, and then you got to relax, and you can't throw the ball around and kick the ball around and run the bases crappy and have bad at-bats, and bullpen can't blow game 1 leads in the postseason.
Totally correct. Jim, let me say what millions have thought this offseason. We're looking forward to seeing Jim Salisbury back on NBC Sports Philadelphia. So congrats on that, my man. And again, the Philly show as well, along with Ruben and Todd Zalecki, a great show. Jim, we always appreciate having you on the program. Thanks, my man.
Thanks, Jim.
My pleasure, guys. Enjoy the season. See ya.
Thank you, pal. All right, there he is, the great Jim Salisbury. So,
I just want to point out here very quickly when you said, you're more aligned with me with the great. I said good.
Yeah, well, did I say great? Because, no, I would... I don't know if I said
you're
more...
leaning towards great,
no,
which is outrageous.
No, I lean toward good. I look, my official answer is good, but I'm close to great because of the Luzardo contract. I think the biggest thing the Phillies did this offseason is extend their window for a long time. I mean, Luzardo is Ray, they could have lost him in 12 months.
You can't say they're extending the window for a long time when you've got a lot of older players on this team.
Yeah, but Luzardo's not an older player.
I'm not talking about the pitching.
But
the
I
pitching
am.
is fine.
I wish
you've got guys like Schwarber and JT by the end of those contracts could be
I know.
rough.
All right, let's just quickly around the room and then to Jonesy. Good, great, bad, or horrendous? I got the all-season as good. John?
Good.
Buzz?
Good.
Rhea?
Bad.
Not horrendous, though.
No, that's
Okay.
James.
All right.
I'll answer for James. Horrendous.
All right.